Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV. Here we are.
And you know, Tekashi 6ix9ine, you know, was a pretty good rapper actually, or he is a pretty good rapper. He's not bad at what he does, but he was really playing in some dangerous territory. I followed all the rappers that come out. Because, you know, when you go on shows like The Breakfast Club and stuff like that, you want to know what's going on. Like, I like to really be in tune with what young people are paying attention to. So even if I don't understand it, I don't get it, even if I don't like it, I try to, the first thing I do, actually, which I don't think a lot of people do this, honestly, is I try to empathize with things I don't like. Meaning, like, if I see something I don't like, I try to understand why somebody likes it. So I try to make myself like it and say, okay, if I were that kind of person, I would like it. So with Tekashi, it was easy to tell, you know, why people liked his music. You know, his style was new and fresh and high energy, and I think I can see where young people would like it, because actually psychologists show that young people tend to just naturally gravitate toward things that are like rebellious, you know. And in the hip hop, if you pay attention now, hip hop is not really driven by lyrical ability. It's not like, okay, you got to show by being, you know, you got to show that you're great by, you know, having lyrical dexterity and, you know, clever entendres and also the double entendres, whatever they call it. You know, it's more like with him, he just kind of yells. He yells, right? And then there's like and then it's really a lot of the story is the imagery. Like they say that 80% of all communication is nonverbal. 80% of all communication is nonverbal. So even without listening to the music, just the imagery is what will draw a lot of people in, right? So for him, his imagery was he used the brand of the Bloods, particularly I think in New York, where he just had, you know, all these gangbangers kind of around, a lot of you know, weed smoke, liquor bottles, pit bulls, girls with big booties, you know, kind of the standard hip hop formula, right? Hip hop has you know, they really took something that I thought was powerful and beautiful and turned it into something that is toxic, ignorant, embarrassing, self-destructive, ultimately self-destructive, especially in New York, where I believe, you know, when they talk about the hip-hop police being real, I believe that they are real. I believe they just target rappers because they say, okay, you know, if you have a stupid culture, then we're going to just put you in stupid situations and watch you do stupid things. So, for example, you know, where in New York, where the gun laws are really, really strict, you know, it's kind of sad when you see like these teenagers making, you know, videos with illegal weapons in the video, right? And then, you know, you're creating all this evidence, and then they know exactly where to find you. They just go lock them up. A lot of times they'll lock them up in groups in the studio. And then on top of that, they got big RICO charges on, you know, on top of everything. So now you got conspiracy and weapons charges and drug charges and, you know, and all kinds of shit. And they did that to Bobby Shmurda. They done it to some other people, stuff like that. Tekashi was, I guess, next on the list. Now Tekashi was interesting because Tekashi, you know, when he was caught up, and I knew the thing was when he first came out and I saw his lifestyle. I mean, I watched these guys. I just study them to just see what's going on. I knew where he was going. Like I said, oh, okay, we got another Bobby Shmurda, right? He's going down like Bobby. He'll be in prison in a couple of years. He's not going to last that long. And so I watched his situation kind of descend. And remember, you got puppet masters behind the scenes that are controlling and watching all this happen and making it happen. You know, in fact, I remember he had this beef with some guy named Trippie Redd or something, another guy I'd never heard of. Like, they have these rappers just pop out of fucking nowhere and suddenly they got 100 million views. I'm trying to figure out how this whole system works. This does not happen just organically. There's a system behind this. There's a process behind this. So it turns out, from what I understood at the time, he had the same manager as Trippie Redd. So they were beefing, but they had the same manager, which was some old Jewish guy who was sitting back collecting money, while young black men kill each other. So that's a long held tradition. Like they do that. They've done that with weapons dealers. Do that. If you're a weapons dealer and you want to make money, all you got to do is get two African countries that don't like each other, or two factions, two tribes, and cause a beef, create a beef between the two, and then you get to sell weapons to both sides. That's how weapons dealers operate. So basically, these weapons dealers, now the weapon is more so music, it's social media, which translates into physical confrontations and long prison sentences. And then when they're done, they just sweep them away and say, okay, give me two more Negroes to play the game with. Now Tekashi, when he went to prison, his case was interesting because he chose to testify against the people that he was used to be cool with. Is he a snitch? Yeah. Is he a rat? Yeah, absolutely. But what's interesting to me is a lot of people that say that they've never faced 65 years in prison. A lot of people say that don't know what it's like to know that you're going to be away from your daughter for 60-something years. I don't even know if he wants to be a dad. I don't know if that matters for him or not. I don't give a fuck. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like people talk a lot of shit. Just seriously, like we have a shit talking culture where people are like, oh, I would never rat. Yeah, okay, well, let a prosecutor sit in front of you and seriously give you 65 years in prison where you are 30 and you'll be out of prison when you're 95. And then, let's see what you do. Let's see what you do. I'm not going to tell you first of all, my solution is I try to stay out of that situation in the first place, right? I'm not even trying to be in a situation where I got to either testify against the Bloods or never see my child again, right? That's fucked up. That's why black men have to be smart about where you put yourself in. Don't let people use you like that. But then too, his decision was his decision. I didn't really care. I just watched how it all played out. So, of course, the street cred crowd, keeping it real crowd is, pretty much upset about the snitch, and they've been talking shit about him. Oh, he ain't gonna live. They're gonna get him. Da, da, da. So Tekashi gets out. I pretty much assumed he wasn't gonna last that long. Like he wasn't gonna live that. Or scratch that. I wouldn't be surprised if something happened to him, but I'm not surprised that nothing has happened to him. And also, I won't be surprised if nothing happens to him at all, ever. And why do I say that? Well, because first off, now that he's out, he's gonna have a lot of money for a lot of security and a lot of stuff like that, right? And there are other people out there that have people that want to kill them who are just fine. Like the Obamas, for example. If you're a former president, you're pretty much always on somebody's hit list. There are terrorists all over the world who would get lots of points for taking you out. Is Tekashi an agent? He could be an agent. I'm sure that the hip hop police have plants and snitches, located within the industry, all that stuff. I totally believe that. The same way they did with the Black Panther movement. I think they saw hip hop as a movement and they said, okay, let's create some plants that can go in there and get evidence for us. Was Tekashi in that category? I have no fucking clue. I don't know. I don't care. It is what it is. But one of the things that I will also say too is he's going to always make money. The guy's going to always make money. He's going to always have a fan base, because we live in a world where a lot of what you think is real really isn't real. A lot of, gangsterism is kind of, Twitter gangsterism, right? So for every 10,000 people who call Tekashi a snitch, maybe there's like 2 of them who might actually act on on what they believe. Like, oh, I'm really going to take him out because he's a snitch. Everybody else is just going to sit back and get mad and yell and scream, and that'll be it. And Tekashi has a global fan base. So he's got fans in Asia who give zero fucks about, about anything going on in New York City or gangs in New York, right? The little Chinese kids that are listening to Tekashi 6ix9ine do not care that he's a snitch. Mexican kids or, kids in Colombia or something, most of them do not care if he's a snitch. Suburban kids who watch this gangster shit for entertainment, who are the reason, they are the financial fuel for hip hop anyway, they give zero shits about whether or not he's a snitch. Hip hop, for the most part, is a fantasy world. It's like it's a big fucking game of Jumanji, where the white kids in the suburbs get to peer into this crazy, wild, crazy gangster culture of black people, and they laugh at you. They kind of making fun of you. Like they think it's like back in the day, people used to watch mafia movies. With the Godfather and stuff like that. Like people like that, but nobody wanted to really live in that world. Nobody gave a shit about the people in that world. Nobody cared if it was real or it was fake, as long as it was interesting. See, people don't care about it really being real. They used to kind of care about that, right? Because remember, Vanilla Ice, his whole career disappeared because people found out that he wasn't real. Remember, he was this white boy who was super cool, and he had this story about being from the hood, and they found out his real name was Robbie Van Winkle, and he grew up in the suburbs, and then his career kind of imploded. But I think a lot of that changed, because remember when Rick Ross, when he came out, I'm a boss, and he's up here bragging about being a drug dealer. Like that's what rappers do. A lot of rappers love to destroy the lives of young black men. A lot of rappers are Klansmen. They want to see young black men all dead by the age of 25. Like they should be working for the Klan. They should be working for the KKK. So Rick Ross is coming out with all this like drug dealer promotion bullshit. And which y'all celebrate because y'all done got stuck on stupid. Y'all done got your brains flipped around to where you're cheering for the genocide of your young black men, and then wondering why your young black men are dying, right? You look stupid. You just look crazy. You really look a little bit crazy right now. I'm going to tell you the truth. But Rick Ross, if you recall, when Rick Ross was blasted by 50 Cent, 50 Cent took him down just like he took down Ja Rule. He ruined Ja Rule, but I think he ruined Ja Rule just from his lyrical ability. Like, I think his diss track was so solid. He had such a head start. Ja Rule couldn't come back from that. But with Rick Ross, I feel like he ruined him too. But Rick Ross was able to come back and have an amazing career because he really showed that the reality that a mediocre reality is never as good as a great fantasy. That a reality, an okay reality, is never as appealing as a really, really, really cool fantasy. So because Rick Ross, he's pretty very clear. Like, none of this is real. All this shit is fake. I'm not a real gangster. I just play one on TV, and because that's what black men are supposed to be, and people buy into that shit, right? So Tekashi, he's not just a wankster, right? He's not just a fake gangster. He's also a snitch, and this fake gangster snitch is going to make more money than nearly all the rappers that are out here right now. He's going to have a very long career because he's figured out his formula. I saw his video. I follow. He just released a new song called Goomba or some shit. I watch all this. I got kids, and again, like I said, if you go on shows like The Breakfast Club, you just want to know what's going on, right? So I pay attention. And it's not a terrible song. I said, okay, I understand the formula. I could make a hip hop music video, actually. I really could. Because I study, I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, so you need this, you need this. I know the formulas for hip hop videos, right? And I know Tekashi's formula, right? You yell over the track, a really good beat. You need a really good producer to give you a great beat. You need something, maybe some big booties, something from the hip hop. So he's got a bunch of, first thing you see are big booties, and then you need something creative, right? So they're splashing paint on the women with the big booties, and the whole time he's kind of doing his fake gangster thing. And the song got 102 million views in about 5 days. And that translates into money. The formula for making money is 3 components. There's production, distribution, and monetization. Can you produce a product that people will want to buy? Can you distribute that product to the people who might want to buy it? And can you convince the buyer to make a purchase? So production, he's obviously back in the studio, so he's producing his music. He's got good producers that are working with him. Because I don't care how much people talk about the G code and the street code and all that shit. He'll never have people that won't. There'll always be people that want to work with him because people respect money. People respect what they see as power. Distribution, he's probably got 100 million followers on Instagram and YouTube that he can reach out to anytime he wants. And then monetization. Again, sure, poor kid, maybe broke kids from the hood who believe in not snitching are never gonna touch Tekashi. Maybe certain rappers are never gonna endorse Tekashi, but some of them are eventually gonna be willing to work with him because they're all desperate for their next hit. And then 3, but at the same time, you got a lot of people, the majority of his audience, where all this is fantasy anyway. They really don't care about. Excuse me. They really don't care about some sort of street code. They really don't. And what I'll say also overall is there's going to be another Tekashi next year. It always makes me sad because they always use young black men as their jump off point to become successful. Tekashi, I don't consider him to be a young black man. He's a Mexican kid who hung around a lot of young black men. If you look at who's going to win from this, Tekashi jumps out. He does a Justin Timberlake. Like, remember when Justin Timberlake was performing with Janet Jackson? Justin Timberlake, the big culture vulture who's been stealing black music for 25 years. So Justin Timberlake performs with Janet Jackson, and they have the wardrobe malfunction. Justin sort of still leaps out and goes on and has this great career, whereas Janet gets haunted by this for the next 10, 20 years. So he does a Justin Timberlake, so he bounces out. He's going to be fine, but in his aftermath are probably a dozen or more young black men, mostly, who are going to go do long prison sentences and be away from their children for the next 50 years. Also remember that Tekashi never would have got his street cred if it wasn't for the fact that that the Bloods, I can't remember what Bloods they were. If you know it in the chat, please feel free to say it. But if the Bloods had not loaned him their brand or made that business agreement to let him use their brand to get the street cred that he had, he never would have blasted off the way that he did. So it is what it is. That's what I'm seeing. I think the guy's going to always make money. Non-Trey Bloods, thank you. And so I just really hope that we can learn something from this and just understand business. And I just really think young people have to, in general, know the difference between what's real and what's fake, and what's healthy and what's not. I don't like any of this shit, man. I feel so sad for some of these kids, man. I feel like, goddamn, they don't even have a damn clue what they're in for. You don't understand. When you're 19 years old, like a Bobby Shmurda, and you're trying to become famous, and you get your first little opportunity because some little wrinkly ass old Jewish man came up and decided to let you on his record label and tells you to go out and do shit that's going to get you locked up for the next 40, 50 years. That's all damn near as bad as child molestation. I mean, it's terrible, and I wish these guys understood that, because unfortunately what happens is they don't realize until it's too late. And the thing is, this ain't nothing new. They've been doing this since before I was young. And if you go back to Eazy-E's story, back with NWA, what do you think Jerry Heller was doing? Jerry Heller, a little wrinkly old Jewish man who said, "Ooh, this gangster stuff, let's go and let's destroy the image of Compton all around the world. And let's take this let's export this gangster shit because people will be excited about it. It'll be cool and exciting, right, to hear about the streets of Compton." And if you listen to NWA's first album, all they did in the whole album was they were educating you about Compton, and about the streets and gangster culture, but which might have been real, but that's not all blackness is defined to be. And unfortunately, sometimes you can get captured inside a character that you create. You can be trapped in a prison that you built. And so Compton, 30 years later, 40, however long it's been, still can't really escape that image of being this sort of chaotic war zone where everybody wants to die. And I've been to Compton, and there are good people in Compton, very smart people in Compton, amazing people there. And I don't think they deserve that negative reputation that they received. It's no different from Medellin, Colombia, and what happened with them when Pablo Escobar became their most famous export. The people of Medellin are ashamed of that Pablo Escobar is their most famous citizen. You don't want Pablo Escobar to be equivalent to what Muhammad Ali is for the city of Louisville. You don't want that. You want to be known for something good. You want to be known as a place that's productive, happy, and safe. So I agree with you. I agree with you, lover. Black people have to stop the nonsense. Stop allowing people to control the narrative of black culture. I agree 100%. So that's what I'm seeing with the Tekashi thing. It was on my brain. Don't ask me why I decided to talk about it, but I think it is an important topic in terms of because business and blackness, or economics and blackness. Those are two things that I specialize in, and so this is a huge economic scenario that's kind of emerging with him. He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to do fine. I don't think anybody's ever really going to get him. If somebody gets him, I'll be surprised. It'd be because he got caught slipping. Like if I was his friend, I would probably sit back and be like, look, man, you made $10 million. We about to spend at least 1.5 on security. Like we're going to have a whole lot of security. But honestly, I just, I think that's the other thing too. I don't think people take the black community that seriously. Like they don't really think black men are going to pull together an army, a hit squad, and really go handle some business. Y'all, they don't look at y'all like the mafia or some shit. They look at y'all as a bunch of disorganized, ridiculous little animals just run around screaming and hollering about everything. I don't think people even have enough respect for black people to even think that we have the capacity to come together and do something that's physically impactful. They know that we know how to yell and scream and get mad and talk shit, and that's just what it is. So anyway, I'm gonna go, guys. Hey, have a good day, and thanks for listening. And I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to drboycetv.com. And what's up on Instagram? My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So feel free to subscribe to the Instagram at The Real Boyce Watkins. All right, I'll see you guys later. Take care. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV. Here we are.